All right. We're back. It's me, Shawnee. Today we are back with becoming. What are we becoming today? Today we are becoming confident. I figured I needed to work on my confidence. Well, at least God decided. I didn't decide nothing. So I just want everyone to know I am far from arrogant. I am far from cocky, but I feel like everyone should exercise confidence. And I will explain this as this episode unfolds. However, at 35 years old, I realized I exercise confidence in nothing that I do or have done up until this point. Actually, I learned that I was only confident in two categories. The first being school, because I felt I was always smart and I am a good learner, and book smart was just always my thing. And for a long time, the second category, believe it or not, was my body. I know that may sound weird, with someone being confident in their body. But I did start this to be completely honest and transparent. So to learn how to be confident, God led me to the root of why I was actually insecure. Could he have just given me the confidence I was asking for? Of course. But I believe part of this process was giving me a full understanding of what I really needed to pray against and to heal from. And the deep root of insecurity for me began with perversion and rejection. So I must warn you that this episode is actually very transparent. But let's get into it. So let's start with my childhood. I was around 6 or 7 living in the Bronx with my mother and my stepfather. My mother allowed me to maintain a relationship with my real father, of course, like any good mother would do, who had since remarried and had other children of his own. My father asked me to live with him in Virginia, and I was actually excited to go. My mother, however, was not. And I remember when I told her I wanted to go, I listened to my mother cry in the apartment building hallway when she decided that she was going to let me go. Like, it was a true sob. As a mother now, I understand it. But back then, I was kind of lost. Like, what's she crying for? But she was sobbing, a sound that I will never forget. And of course, I didn't understand then, but I do understand now what that sob was. And I can say living with my birth father changed me in so many ways. My stepbrother and my stepsister, which was my father's wife's, so my stepmother's children, unbeknownst to one another, took turns raping and molesting me. For me, it wasn't just the physical, it was much more mentally destructive than I knew. There were times, like I said, this is just very transparent. There were times I would wake up from my sleep and feel something being done to me that I didn't understand. And when my stepbrother was done, I was actually able to peel the semen that he left from my thighs. And I had no clue what to do with it. Again, I was about 6 or 7 years old. My stepsister made me perform acts for her, to her. And in between those, she would beat me up and steal my clothes as a child. My mom would send clothes and jewelry, shoes from New York to Virginia for me, and she would steal them. And I was too afraid and intimidated to do anything outside of what she was asking me to do. So, of course, by this point, I'm sure you're asking, well, where the heck was my father? He was actually an on-the-road truck driver for Purdue. For the sake of time, I won't get too much into it. I will say that I did make it back to New York. My mother came and took me back while my father was on the road. But it didn't stop. Later, my mother did admit to me that I was a completely different child. That spirit of perversion sat with me So much so that it continued to call in new ways to attack me. I continued to be raped and molested up until I was 16 years old, by whoever was brave enough to do it. My aunt's husband, my stepfather's best friend, my mother's brother. The list dragged on. But then I got saved at 16. I actually got baptized with the Holy Spirit and had even been given the gift of intercessory prayer. But of course, the enemy didn't want that. So he sent what he knew worked in the form of my mother's brother, who raped me in my own bedroom as everyone was asleep. And I remember crying out to God that night, but I felt absolutely nothing. So that brought on more anger and more rejection. And I decided that it would be the last time that another man took something from me without my permission. By the time I went to college, I learned the art of seduction and became something like a siren. I know we all know what the mythological creature of a siren is. It was something like that. I was confident in my body because by this time I just knew that's what all men wanted from me anyway. I knew my looks and my body worked. It wasn't about my awesome and charming personality, which I know I am now. But back then, I knew it wasn't about that. So because not one man asked me, they didn't even ask me what my middle name was. They didn't ask for a date. Not even what I liked before they mentioned my body or made some sexual reference. And so I gave it to them in the way that it benefited me. And perversion invited confusion. Confusion really had me believing I was doing something better for myself, that I was protecting myself, but also seeking at the same time what I needed from men in the form of validation, attention, and love. So here I am as an adult, as a mother, and I became a mother at 18. I was told by my real father that he never wanted me, that it was too late for us to have a relationship. Rejection. My stepfather favorited my sister and treated her blatantly different in some ways than how I was treated. Rejection. He admitted later that he was angry with me from something that I had done as a very little girl, which I will not tell because there's just too much confusion associated with that story. But I will say, if his version of the story is true, he did have a reason to feel upset with me. But if the story I told was true, neither here nor there. Still rejection. My stepfather and I began to have physical altercations at the age of 14. So at this point, how do I know love from men? Abuse, perversion, and rejection. It reflected in my adult relationships. I loved physically abusive men, attempting to change them and nurture them to love me better, but also satisfied in knowing that they loved me. And I could tell that they loved me because they abused and they had rejected me. The devil doesn't like covenant. He doesn't want relationships to work. Not with families, marriages, or friendships. I had none. Nothing in my life worked, and it was so chaotic. I had never experienced the fullness of healthy relationships. My favorite person was actually my sister, more than I had ever expressed, but I rejected her because that's what I was used to. I began to think it can't be everyone else. It has to be me. I didn't understand, like, what's wrong with me? God wouldn't even help me. He wouldn't rescue me or love me. Rejection. I was nice, I was loyal, I was forgiving, loving, and I was a giver. Like, what is wrong with me? And truth of the matter, the enemy was on a mission to destroy me. So if you get nothing else from this story, remember this. Insecurity is a symptom of fear and rejection. rejection makes you feel like you're not good enough. And confusion is a symptom of perversion. There is no clarity and right of mind in perversion. And that's not just sexual intent. I know most people think perversion is sexual, and that's not all it is. Perversion means it's anything that alters a person or a thing from its original intent, and that breeds confusion. I had 35 years of rejection and perversion to pray against and heal from. I didn't know myself. I didn't know my voice, God's voice. I didn't know what I was even put here to do because I was so far away from my original intent, which is all that perversion is. So the Bible says, seek first the kingdom of heaven, and everything else will be added to it. The Bible provides us with instructions on not just how to live, but how to live unbothered. This doesn't mean that problems won't come, but we are supposed to love and trust God enough to be confident that He will handle it. Like, He got you. I didn't believe that at first, because where was He when I was being raped before I even understood what sex was? Where was He when those men were trying to kill me? The men that were abusing me. Like, there's a difference, though. And I wasn't taught this growing up, that there's a difference between the enemy trying to destroy you, the results of your own choices, and God's hand in growing you. Most of my childhood was the result of generational curses or patterns and results of decisions my parents made. Soon it was the decisions I made. I look back and realize it wasn't God that rejected me. He actually saved my life quite often and drew me in, and I rejected Him because I was led to believe He rejected me. And I had to learn the true intentions of God and who He is. I began this journey listening to people say they were in love with God. And it hit me that I knew I feared God. Like, it's God. I fear Him. Like, I respect you. I love you. But I don't know if I'm in love with you. Like, I know Him, but I didn't know Him. It's like you're dating a guy and y'all been dating for a minute. Like, I know you, I like you, but I ain't feeling, I ain't there yet. I don't know you like that. And that's how I had to be transparent and honest. Like, I don't know you like that, but I wanted to. And so I decided to read the Bible to get to know how He thought of me and what He liked and disliked and what He loved. Like, I decided to date God. Like, let me get to know, like, simple things. And yes, the Bible tells you all of this. I wanted to learn to trust Him to lead me. I've tried it on my own for so long and it didn't work. But again, let's be honest. I would listen to people in the church say, if you want to make sure God is talking to you, you can find it in the Bible. He's going to tell you something. He's not going to tell you something that goes against His word, which is true. That is very true. However, the Bible doesn't guide you in where to go. Like, you have to develop a relationship with God to know how He deals with you. So if God tells me to build something, write something, go somewhere, help someone, not to do something, not go here, not to be in the relationship with someone, all these are examples of actions. I have to know how He talks to me. And I was so lost. I want to know that if He tells me to go right and not left, that I know for sure that it's Him and not myself. God uses my gift of discernment. Like, it's a deep gut feeling in my stomach, a feeling that something just isn't right, or that something actually is. Most times I really can't explain it. I'll just know. But always in some way, God would give me a confirmation, whether it be through someone else or actually through the Bible. And I would pray and God would confirm that He answered my prayer, or that someone needed exactly what I prayed for, because I would come out of prayer sometimes questioning whether or not I was actually being used or if I was actually hearing God correctly. I would question simple things like how to use holy oil, or going to school for 2 degrees at once. And some people didn't understand what I was doing or why. And sometimes I didn't either. I didn't truly understand either. But then I had a revelation. God gave me a purpose for me, just like he gave one to you. So why should I have to understand your purpose? That's not my business. That's between you and the Father. And if you're married, between you and your spouse, that's between y'all. But to become confident, I had to understand these 5 things. 1, who God is, his love, and his intent for me. 2, the difference between the natural and the spiritual and the effects that each have to one another. 3, that I am one of a kind, who God has equipped with gifts, with skills and knowledge. And although I may not know how each of them will be used, if I seek him first, he will guide me in how to use them for his glory when and if he sees fit. 4, how God talks and deals with me. He does talk to me. Like, he talks to me. 5, if I seek him first, he will add everything else and withhold no good thing from me. So having confidence in God gives me confidence in myself, and confidence in God is key. You can't be insecure and be about your Father's business. The two don't mix. Because when he tells you to go, you gotta go. When he gave tasks to people in the Bible like Moses, Joshua, Noah, Abraham, everybody. They didn't ask around for confirmation. Noah looked crazy building a boat. Moses looked crazy marching into Pharaoh's house making demands. People like, bro, what are you talking about right now? They didn't ask for clarity or permission. I don't remember Noah asking, God told me to build a boat. You think I should build a boat? You think I should build a boat? You think, how big should I make the boat? You think, am I crazy? You think I should really build a boat? Like, Moses didn't go, hey, I think God told me to march into Pharaoh's house and tell him to let my people go. You think I heard that right? Did I hear that right? I think I'm crazy. Like, they didn't ask that. Truthfully, if they had asked other people, people wouldn't have understood it anyway. They was really like, y'all, you insane. Like, no, that's not how God operates anyway. Like, why is he talking to you? They didn't ask for clarity or permission. They were confident in knowing they heard God's voice. Then they were obedient and being led by God. And they were confident in themselves because they knew God gave them everything they needed to complete the task. God gave Moses the gift of leadership and Noah the gift of carpentry. I'm pretty sure there's more, but Noah didn't say, God, I don't know how to use no hammer. True. Moses was scared and insecure at first. He went back and forth with God about his skills and what to say. Moses had a question for everything. What if they ask me this? What if they don't believe me? But I stutter. How can I talk? In my opinion, like, I truly think God got irritated. But how many of us actually pull a Moses? God says something and it's like, but wait, what if? How? Wait, what this mean? What am I supposed to do? You want me to do what? You want me to go where? With who? It makes me think of that. You want me to go where? With who? Oh, really? That's how you feel? Anyways, it's insecurity. It's fear. And developing confidence is key in knowing that if God said it, it's done. He's already gave you what you needed, or else he wouldn't have told you. I just don't believe with all the things God has to do, he's about wasting his breath to say something that doesn't need to be said. Like, think about it. He don't give you a long drawn out explanation. He just be like, go. Go where? Go. You want me to go left or right? Go. It's not, he don't say much. But he does love us enough to offer reassurance, patience, and guidance as he did with Moses. And understanding the spiritual gave me what to pray against. The enemy doesn't stop. We are in a war whether we like it or not. I was only 6 or 7 years old. And the devil don't care about your children and how old they are. I still have days where I am unsure, but I'm not insecure. I was unsure whether God gave me this task to start this blog, start a website, now starting a podcast. I was unsure. I was scared of what people would read, what they would hear, the judgments, the feelings I may hurt. And I was scared of being vulnerable. It was revealed to me that I was afraid of the rejection. So much so that before I even began this, I was so nervous, like I was about to cry. So I started calling people to ask for acceptance and to help see me through it. And they didn't answer. Like, I called my sister and she didn't answer the phone, which I was going to yell at her for, because how dare you be too busy to answer the phone for me? That's my sister. Like, she's supposed to answer every time I call. I did call one other person who's been helping me on this journey. He didn't answer either. How dare he? But God continually puts me in a position where I'm forced to be confident in him. Earth is the devil's playground. So I know that this podcast, what I'm writing in these blogs, it's not going to appeal to everybody. I get that. I'm not for everybody. My personality ain't for everybody. It's just not for everybody. And people like to twist and turn and make things bad, but I can't worry about that. I have to be confident in God and who he intends this to be for. And above all, I have to be obedient. And that was a whole lot of noise. This is what happens when you sit next to the window. But I have to be confident in God and who he intends this to be for. And above all, I have to be obedient. And I truly believe he will work out the rest. He will. And with that, I am now becoming more confident than I have ever been in my entire life. Why? Why, Fred Hammond? Tell me why, Fred Hammond?